This is the plaintiff, Mr. Flores. He says he rented a room from the defendant, and the guy out and out cheated him. The day he and his partner were supposed to move in, he was told he couldn't due to COVID regulations. He's suing the scammer for $1,434.67, the amount he's owed. This is the defendant, Mark William Hiles. He says his current tenants were causing problems for the plaintiff, and it was the plaintiff who backed out of their deal. He's sorry, but he simply doesn't owe the plaintiff any money. He's accused of being a double-crosser.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket, the plaintiff says that he rented a room from the defendant, turned out to be a very hostile environment, and says the defendant tried to hide that fact from him. But the defendant says his other tenants started causing some problems which he had no control over, and he's sorry but owes this guy nothing. It's the case of, I live in a hostile environment.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Mr. Flores, what happened?
So on October 27th, I responded to the ad that Mark posted on Craigslist. It was for a small room in a house in San Francisco. So on October 28th...
So at some point you agree that you're going to rent a room from him in a particular house. Did he tell you that there were other people living in the house?
Yes, he did. He said that a couple were living inside the house, that I'll be sharing the house with them.
Okay, didn't you want to meet them before you handed money over to make sure you liked them? What if there was a huge problem?
I didn't think anything of that. At the time, I was just looking for a place to live, and that, it was just within my budget.
Okay, so you paid him October's rent of $645, and then you paid him, you paid him a total of $1,000, right? So that would have been partial November rent. Did you see it? Did you see the place?
Yes, ma'am. I did,
okay,
Your Honor.
So you go to see the place, and what happens when you go see the place?
When I got there, so he showed me around the room, the house, and I met a gentleman named Lawrence that lived in the property as well. There were an altercation between them two. Mark said a comment to him.
What do you mean they started an altercation? What happened?
So Mark made a comment to Lawrence. Lawrence was sitting in his car while he was waiting for the sweeper to come by. And so Lawrence didn't like the comment that he made. So Lawrence got out of his car and went towards Mark. Mark ran inside the house, slammed the door in Lawrence's face, and Lawrence was able to get in the house. And so at that point, I jumped in. I say, you don't want to start any problems. And then so Lawrence left the house, and
you must have been desperate for housing.
I was, ma'am.
Because I would stay pretty clear of this place. All right. So you end up giving him the rent, and then what happens on the day you're supposed to move in, which is what day, by the way, were you supposed to move in?
October 1st.
Okay, so on October 1st, you drive over there, ready to move in. You got your stuff with you, you and your partner, and what happens?
So I opened the door. The door opened, but a latch blocked it from opening all the way. So I knocked on the door a couple of times. Then I knocked on the window that was near the door. And then a gentleman came to the door and said, what do I want? And I said, well, I'm moving into the room that I rented from Mark. And he goes, you're not allowed to rent the room, because of COVID restrictions or something like that. So at that point, I got kind of upset and I hit the door open, with my shoulder. And so it opened up and I come to see, I guess, the couple, the gentleman who I was talking to and the female was on the phone. And so at that point, that's when my partner said, let's go. So I got in my car.
Because she was calling the police?
I believe, yes, she was, yeah. So
Okay.
I did submit it.
All right, so you leave and then you call Mr. Hiles, and do you tell Mr. Hiles, hey, what up? I didn't have access to the place I rented from you. I want my money back. And what does he say?
Yes, I called him right away. And then he goes, what's going on? So I told him the whole situation that happened. And then I also mentioned, if I did cause any damage to the door, I'm willing to pay for it. You can deduct it from the $1,000. He said, so are you sure you don't want to live there? He's like trying to persuade me to continue living there. Yeah. So,
Continue.
yeah. And so I'm like, no, I don't want any problems. This is the second incident that happened at this house. I'm done. I want my money back. And he said, okay. So he said, I understand. Let me figure out how to, get you your money.
Right. Does he get you any money? Does he return any money to you? Yes or no?
No, ma'am. No, Your Honor.
Does he ever tell you why, or does he just stop answering your calls?
He just stops answering me.
Mr. Hiles, what's going on?
Well, on October 1st, he did come to the house, as he stated.
Yeah, no, let's get past that. So he goes in there, he's trying to rent it. Yeah, what happened?
When I showed it to him, he saw that there was a lot of bad energy there. And when Lawrence came up and basically was going to punch me out. And
so shame on him for trusting that you had control of the bad energy. Mr. Hiles, you took money from the guy for an apartment and the guy couldn't get in. Why do you still have his money? That's what I'm trying to understand.
Well, a couple things. Okay, he has the only key I have to the property. I gave him the key and I said, please return the key if or make a copy of the key and return the copy so I have access back to the room. But short story long, he knew there was conflict in the house. He said, hey, I'm okay with it. I really need a room. I go, okay. So then when he backed out, I said, which he didn't mention, I said, I will come up there right now.
The guy wouldn't let him in. They had a barricaded door. And then they're calling the police on him. How is that him backing out? How is that not a you problem? You've got tenants in there who probably aren't even paying rent, who are taking advantage of the COVID situation, and who have decided they want to live alone and they want full access to the house. Whether rightly or wrongly, they don't want somebody else to come in. They want to pretend they rented a 5-bedroom house or whatever it is. But that's a you problem, Mr. Hiles. How is that something that's a him problem? Why does Mr. Flores now have to forego $1,000 for a place he couldn't get into because you've got tenants who are nasty?
He knew there was problem tenants. He knew there may be an issue about getting in. I said I would come up there and meet him.
He knew there might be an issue about getting in. Why? Because the tenants are mad at you for something?
They're always in San Francisco.
You don't think that at a minimum, your body should have been there with a key to your place to let him in on that first day and make sure things went smoothly? You literally gave him the only key you have. Now you don't even have access to the place.
Well, no, I've been there since then. I was able to get into the room. I've set up a bed for myself, and I'm planning, they were a little bit hostile when I went there, but they rolled over right away once they saw that I was firm. And I told Mr. that, let me just meet you there. I'll get you in right away, and once you establish yourself, it wasn't that big of a deal. They're just like a dog that doesn't bite, they were intimidating him, and he understood because his partner is on probation and didn't want to be involved with any police action. And I can understand that.
That makes sense. Of course he doesn't want to have police action. He doesn't want to move into a place where people calling the police on him. He doesn't want to, he sees his partner barge through the door already. Yeah, he doesn't want any part of this, neither does anybody else, because they were barricaded from coming into the place you rented them. That is a you problem. You said you would return the money and then you didn't. What happened?
I was going to still charge him for 1 month's rent.
Did you? Oh, really? That's rich. No, you're not.
Yeah.
You're not. No, I got news for you. You're not going to charge him a penny because the guy tried to move in and you have rented to people who added a second lock and wouldn't let him in and called the police on him. That is not giving him access to an apartment. So you're going to give him back his entire $1,000. That's what's going to happen. You're entitled to the $1,000. You're entitled to prejudgment statutory interest since the day that you paid him the $1,000. You're entitled to your court costs because you shouldn't be out any money. And I wish you good luck. And I wish you good luck. I don't know what you're going to do. You've moved in there so you can keep control of the situation. You still can't evict them?
No. COVID has messed up everything, as we all know. So yeah, we're bed buddies.
So they haven't paid rent since when?
March, yeah.
March. And so
March,
now,
yeah.
are you actually living in the apartment?
I'm going to go up there periodically and just stay the night. And of course, my girlfriend won't go with me. It's too hostile. But
Oh, you think? Yeah.
yeah, I'll go up and just.
Oh, but they're like a dog that won't bite. Okay, Mr. Hiles, pay this man his money, will you? This is just wrong. That's my verdict. Good luck, folks.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So the plaintiff is going to get $1,000 back. Mr. Hiles, the defendant, it's amazing you were trying to charge him a month's rent, and the guy couldn't even get in the building. How could you think you're going to prevail on that?
Well, I thought because when he came there, I was getting ready to be in a fist fight with this tenant that lives in the back, and he defended me, which was very honorable. But he knew, I felt like he knew that it was going to be a stretch to get a room in San Francisco for under $500, approximately $500. I thought he had more, aggression that he could just make it
And your
happen.
girlfriend won't even go there because it's too hostile? You think the guy would feel safe being in there?
Yeah, I know. The whole COVID has just really messed everything up.
All right. Well, good luck to you. Mr. Flores, how do you feel? You're going to get $1,000. You didn't get everything you wanted, but hey, look, you're going to get your money back, okay?
Yeah, I feel great about it. At least I got my money back, and I'm able to use that for my next place.
Have you found a place to live yet in the San Francisco area?
Not yet.
It is expensive. Not yet?
It sure is.
Well,
yeah.
good luck to you. That'll do it for this case. Let's see what the judges have to say.
Wow, really, it's just, this situation of this pandemic has left these kinds of situations like a game of musical chairs between, a vendor and a purchaser, or a landlord and a tenant. There's money, and the money gets thrown up in the air, and the last one, the guy who's caught without a chair, doesn't have money.
That's right.
And what happened here is the landlord ran over and grabbed the chair and knocked the other guy's butt out onto the floor and kept $1,000.
Yeah.
You just can't play that way.
Because when he had last gone around, somebody ripped him off of $10,000.
Right, and everybody wants to fade the heat and fade the pain.
So he feels
somewhere
ripped
else.
off because he can't pay his mortgage, and it's just a mess all the way around.
Oh my God, this better end soon.
Jake wants to know this. Hey, Harvey, I've been watching the People's Court since the Wapner days. Have you ever thought about doing a special People's Court show featuring the very best cases from all 4 of the judges? Well, yeah, I think that sounds like an interesting idea. Here's the thing about that idea. I don't own this show. Stu Billett does. So write Stu Billett. That'll do it for this case. Litigants for the next case inside the courtroom.